Blaine Pardoe is a name that will undoubtedly be familiar to you if you're a fan of the BattleTech franchise, as he is one of its most prolific and oldest authors, having been with it since damn near the beginning, and yet he has now been cancelled by the current IP license holders of BattleTech Catalyst Games Labs on the word of a convicted criminal who has threatened Blaine Pardoe's life and has a proven history of using bot armies online to fake outrage. This is one of those ridiculous situations. This would be, for my 40k fans out there, would be the rough equivalent of Games Workshop deciding to cancel Dan Abnett because of the lies of a convicted criminal. It is a situation so thoroughly ridiculous, it is difficult to wrap one's head around how the hell this could have happened, yet the explanation is remarkably simple and remarkably predictable. So, Blaine Pardoe here wrote a lengthy article explaining how he perceived this to have happened and why, including that the smear campaign was led by the man who had threatened my life. I was told that Fanatics asked my publisher to make this go away. So, in case you are unaware, BattleTech is currently owned by Catalyst Game Labs, which is owned by Tops, which is in turn owned by a company called Fanatics. We'll be getting into how you can contact these companies a bit later because, well, that is how Blaine Pardoe got cancelled in the first place, and I for one am sick of one-sided cancel culture. Of course, you should not be harassing anyone when I give you this contact information. You should be kind and civil because the people you will be contacting will have no actual decision-making power. But if the leaders at Fanatics thinks that this will simply make this go away if they fire him, I say we should prove them wrong on that account. So, he talks about the person in question here, we'll get into that in a little bit more detail later, but Blaine Pardoe is a conservative. And there you have it, that is the entire reason and rationale for why he is being hounded and cancelled for this. He recently released a book called Blue Dawn, which he himself describes as a conservative political thriller, which in this day and age I imagine is much the same as walking into a church in the mid-15th centuries with a book called The Musings of Lucifer. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I'm being silly here. That's a ridiculous comparison, because after all, the Inquisition at least gave you a mock trial before cancelling your ass, permanently or otherwise. There is also, Blaine Pardoe has alleged the person trying to cancel him uses bot armies to artificially create outrage, and we have actually seen a literal example of this now very recently over this. So there was a poll created to see who was in support or didn't support the cancellation of Blaine Pardoe, and approximately 1,000 automated votes were registered for the support option around 7:30 AM EST. Now, I was watching the thing at the time, and I would put the actual number close to 2,000, or maybe even 3,000, but hey, details, as this was a poll made by a fairly small account, which somehow gained something like 4,800 votes in a few hours, majority of which is in the support camp. Suspicious, ever so slightly right there. Now, this is Catalyst Games Labs' official announcement, all of this. Catalyst Game Labs recently suspended publishing new works by longtime BattleTech author Blaine Pardoe, primarily due to Mr. Pardoe's online activities which do not align with Catalyst Publishing's visions. This has nothing to do with Mr. Pardoe's quality of work or ongoing sales, or, as reported elsewhere, his personal feuds with other fans of the BattleTech brand. Now that's a very interesting one right there, as we will see in a second. Now, I admit, I have not read any of his work. I've only very recently started getting into the periphery of BattleTech. However, I do know Razorfist, and he says it's good, and you know what? I believe him. So I am going to simply accept this guy's probably a pretty damn good author, and I have also not seen any critique, even from his opponents right now, that he is letting his political opinion seep into his work. So clearly, that is not the reason why. But so they claim that this is not to do with any feuds with fan or fans. But Mr. Pardoe disputes this. So he claims to have had a call with Catalyst Games Labs where he transcribed some notes, which is perfectly legal, even in a double, what's the term? Because there are some states and countries in which one person can record the conversation on a phone call, in other places you must have the approval of both participants. But you can take notes and annotations, that's perfectly legal. So, bearing in mind here, we are taking Blaine Pardoe at his words, but you know what? I am fine with that. I actually genuinely am. This is a person who has been attacked by an actual literal criminal with a proven record, which is a matter of public record, so I'm going to take his word for it. So what he claims here is that Catalyst Game Labs said, the problem is really this feud you have with censored Faith McCluskey. So Faith McCluskey is the person that he's having this thing with. He says, I'm not feuding. Catalyst Game Labs says, well, you are. Every time you post something about him, it causes him to react. So, this thing here, they claim it has nothing to do with the feud. He's being let go because his bias, primarily to Mr. Pardoe's online activities, which do not lie. Okay. So somebody's lying here, and my money is on Catalyst Games Lab being ordered. Also, they say that this decision was made in consultation with Top Entertainment, owners of the BattleTech intellectual property, but final determination was by Catalyst Game Labs. Bullshit. Catalyst Games Lab is a subsidiary of a subsidiary. They are the butt boy of a butt boy. They do not get to make these decisions. This came from the top off, no doubt about it, and of course, they've turned off comments on the post. So, Faith McCluskey here, Blaine Pardoe has written a fairly lengthy expose of this person and his relationship with them. Faith McCluskey does not exist. Faith isn't a lesbian female planning to adopt children in November. She is not a nurse. She didn't attend college in Tennessee. Her background on the net is a web of lies aimed at deceiving people. She isn't a she. In reality, this is an account of a middle-aged man who will I refer to simply as Jay going forward. This person is a criminal who pledged guilty to issuing terrorist threats with intent to terrorize another and harassment in Pennsylvania court in 2020. He's banned at his former place of employment. This is a matter of public record. This is the person who BattleTech took the word of to fire him. And even worse, BattleTech has even released a short story by this person the last time they had a hissy fit over Blaine Pardoe. Catalyst Games Lab is a spineless, pathetic corporation that has bent the knee to cancel culture and the wokeist horde and has thrown one of its best and brightest under the bus because of it. Presumably on the order of their corporate overlords as well. So, also, for fun, shits and giggles here, because I'm seeing a lot of people going like, no, this isn't a feud, he was a horrible person, you see, that's why he had to be cancelled, he did this to himself. So let's hear. This is Blaine Lee Pardoe, cancelled Blaine Lee Pardoe. This is the worst of the worst that his enemies could come up with. Right. Civil War fantasies. The text is going to be tiny for you here, so you know, YouTube, etc. Someone asked me if a civil war was coming. I told them it already started. The problem is that half of the nation doesn't realize it has started yet. Believe me, the other side is waging a war. That's about the spiciest he gets. Confederate idolization. This was never about Confederates. Idolization instead. That merely was the impetus. This is about dismantling every aspect of American culture. They will strike at statues, they will call for new national anthem, a new flag, ultimately a new form of government. This is in reference to the toppling of statues of Confederate generals, which was absolutely a disgraceful act of vandalism against the country's history. Conspiracies, theories, where's Hunter Biden, protected by Epstein's guards? If someone accused me of something not true, I would come out and say it. It's a lie. I would prove it false, so where's Hunter Biden? I mean, that's a good question. Even the mainstream media has admitted that there was something dodgy about that. January the 6th, insurrectionists. Has a single person been charged with insurrection? No, and if no one is convicted or was it really an insurrection? Again, this appears to be a fact. The January the 6th insurrectionists, as I must say, because we are on YouTube, are currently being held in jail, most of which without charges still. That doesn't sound particularly legal, but oh well, details. Weird how there's no conservative rioter bail fund. It's because until today we haven't launched a peaceful protest. Very, very spicy there. Anti-BLM, you know what, I'm going to skip that one, because anything that's anti-BLM, another proven criminal organization, is probably pretty damn good, frankly. Bigotry towards minorities, diversity inclusion, the left's infiltration into America's corporations. Please share if you feel the same way. It's correct. That is what diversity inclusion is. I mean, note as well, Blaine Pardoe has a gay son. He has no problem with gay people, or LGBT even. He has a problem with the political aspect of this. My grandfather would say you could toss them in a pond and skim ugly for a week. This is also the key of his misogyny allegations. So he's a misogynist because he calls people who look like this, ugly. Mean-spirited at worst, but you may notice this frame right here. This is because I had to censor this picture of an extraordinarily corpulent black woman wearing a see-through purple negligee to the point where you could see her bush and tits. Misogyny. But yeah. This is the worst of the worst. This was posted, oh yeah, by the way, just before we get to that. So, the Civil War thing, right? I think that is a fairly extreme interpretation, true, but, I mean, this tweet encapsulates it perfectly, doesn't it? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, referring to transgender people as patriots, is a good reminder that America is effectively two nations with radically different self-conceptions occupying the same geographical space. It is true. You cannot even deny it. The worldview of the modern-day progressive is so thoroughly alien from that of the conservative that you might as well call it a civil war. When nobody's shooting at each other, well, occasionally they are. Conservatives have been murdered for their opinions previously. But hey, details, and conspiracy theories and all that. But we know we are under attack. I mean, we are talking about the cancellation of a conservative writer because he's a conservative, on the word of an admitted liar. Is it an extreme interpretation? Sure. Is it founded in some sort of fact? It appears to be. But yeah, so, this whole thing here was posted on Reddit to be like, oh hey, this is why it was cancelled on the BattleTech subreddit. This person has only posted one time previously on the BattleTech subreddit. In his history, he has 2 posts, and one of them just happens to be the cancellation of one of his most prolific authors. Again, I remind you, this is a person who has a proven track record, in fact, a recent proven track record of employing bots to push their narrative. And in the comments too, there tends to be a couple of very prolific accounts without any, icons or anything, all spouting the same line. Suspicious. So, I would urge everyone who is watching this to actually get in touch with these companies. Do not harass them, do not be mean, because the people who will be reading this are the customer support people. They are silly little people who have no business doing any of this, they have no decision-making power, they are some unpaid intern. So don't abuse them, abuse the company, if anything. Tell them this was a terrible goddamn idea. Get in contact with Catalyst Games Lab. Get in contact with their various sources. Get in contact with them on Twitter. And now I believe they used to have their DMs open, that is, been strangely closed, but you can still send them tweets, you can yell at them quite vociferously if you so wish. And more importantly, because Catalyst Games Lab is merely the sacrificial sheep in all this, they are the spineless little weak-ass slave of the corporate owners who have already bent the knee. Tops are their owners. They still have their DMs open. I suggest taking advantage of that whilst you can. Fanatic, Tops' owner, has its DMs open. I would suggest taking advantage of that as well. I will also add in links to contact them via phone, to use their ridiculous little message system, because you can no longer send emails to actual people in any corporations. That's how they well, keep themselves safe from any backlash, for example. Nevertheless, absolutely send them contacts, email them, phone them, and be polite every step of the way. And bearing this in mind again, do not harass anyone, do not be mean to anyone, be perfectly polite and civil, and simply ask, hey, are you aware that your company is cancelling a person for his political views? Are you aware that you are acting on the behest of somebody who is convicted, an actual genuine criminal who has terrorized people in the past and in fact has a criminal conviction against him? Are you aware that you are cancelling somebody who has received death threats by the person who is cancelling them? That might be interesting questions to ask. And just also, this is a bit more of a step here, and again, I reiterate, do not harass anyone, but the CEO and co-CEO of Fanatic also have Twitter accounts. They told the CEOs of Catalyst Game Labs to simply make the problem go away. Well, maybe they shouldn't go away. Maybe they should be asked those questions. Maybe, and here's the thing too, these people might not have the faintest clue who Pardoe is. They might not have the faintest clue what's currently happening. They might not have done anything to cancel this guy. In fact, they might be vehemently against cancel culture, and I hope they are. But maybe somebody should tell them then. Again, ask them the question. Are you aware that your company is cancelling somebody that has received death threats from the person who has right now cost him his job? Are you okay with this? Simple as. Be civil, be polite, be nice. But also be loud. Until next time, I have been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and please do partake in the outrage, because this is the only way we can ever stop the cancellation of anyone who is even on our side. Somebody who doesn't allow their politics to get into their hobby, but nevertheless is one of us. Somebody who's being cancelled by a liar, and again, I cannot stress it enough, an actual genuine convicted criminal. Have a good day.